Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, we've got a fun one for you in today's video for Japanese Week. We have the Izumo, what some might regard, at least I did anyway, as the worst Tier 8 battleship. That was until, however, playing this game we have for you guys right here. The Izumo, like many other ships in Legends, takes some getting used to. At first glance, she's not anything special, but when you break it down, the AP performance, the armor, the turret setup, and dispersion coupled with the Japanese unique trait of increased dispersion past, I think it is 14 kilometers, allow you to have a rather accurate boat. However, her concealment, her maneuverability, and her side armor are things you don't really want to test out too often. She is a very slow artillery platform, as is the case with most battleships. However, at Tier 8, I feel like there are much better platforms to play. However, variety is the spice of life, and of course, Mr. Finney, a longtime viewer and supporter of the channel, has begged me to play Izumo for so long, and we finally got a rather decent game out of her. There is a beautiful opening salvo there, which probably just landed a touch short. As you can see, my frustration with this ship grows. However, the name of the game is continuing to play the ship, continuing to put it in the right spots. And of course, this is a typical YouTuber type game where we get one of our better games in this ship and of course use that as an example. I'm not saying this ship is overly strong, and it frustrates me when I see YouTubers kind of overhyping ships just to create a nice video, and that's sort of what we're doing with this one, don't get me wrong. However, you need to try out a variety of ships, put them in different situations to truly master your skills as a captain in World of Warships Legends. And that is exactly what we did with the Izumo. Now, before we get too deep into the gameplay here, we took a central location in our battleship. I wanted to go over our stats, commander guide, and just a little preview of the Izumo here as we get a nice broadside shot. And this is kind of where Aaron gets a little bit frustrated. A rather broadside Yamato. And yeah, one shatter, one bounce, one overpin with 2 penetrations there. But let's go ahead and view this ship top to bottom here. We got a beautiful cinematic view in the ocean port. I've been switching back and forth between that and the Nagasaki port here for Japanese Week. Let's go ahead and take a look at our commander Takeyo Takagi here. Mainly free to play with the exception of Scharnhorst there in that first slot. Cunningham in the second slot, he is free to play with increased shell grouping there, which is always nice for battleships. My build for battleships is relatively same, flammable cannoneer, crisscross. We don't really use gyrating drill bits because this ship is already slow enough. Marksmanship there and reaching out XXL with Firefighter, of course, or Fight Fire with Fire rather, in our legendary perk. Now, if you are doing pay to win, Azure Lane Yamato or Epi Greco Yamato here is an excellent choice. Her long Arm of Justice skill there in the 4th slot, as well as New Jersey and Arthas the Cold, are excellent for a damage build, which is honestly something we're probably going to try out on Yamato and get a fun little replay here for you guys. Here are modification slots, and again, just a beautiful, this port in combination with this camo, I don't know, the cinematics in this game, the art department always never fails to make it look good here. But aiming system mod 1, propulsion, concealment, and of course reload. And there, of course, because the ship is tech tree, are her upgrades. So make sure you grind that out or use a little bit of global to boost her here. I hate playing tech tree ships without boosting them, but 3x3, 410 millimeters of 19.4 firing range with a 27-second reload. And there, of course, are the rest of her traits. 28 knot top speed, yeah, is rather lackluster. Armor, you've got a pretty chunky, decent overall armor package. A great giant nose there of 32, which will protect you from everything except for Yamato there at Fort 60. A rather protected citadel, however, it is out of the water, so just make sure you don't show broadside. You do have a little bit of a cheek there. It's not quite as angled as Yamato, but as you can see, when we remove these extra, turret, casemate, superstructure, it's slightly angled towards the front there. Now, you will need a good bit to overmatch that little casemate that I actually put back on here in just a moment. However, even turning, you don't need to go full broadside in order to access it. So make sure you are, angling appropriately, which can be tough with this turret layout, but that is sort of the skill of this ship. You want to angle when you're being shot at, open up your angle, get your third turret off if possible. If not, just use your front two. But that is why you see me often get in these coveted kind of defensive angled positions which is what I was in during this game. However, we did have some ships out there, deep to our broadside, so just make sure you are paying attention to those. Big guns, superior AP pen, and sure shot are what the overview shows. I'm not exactly sure how accurate those are, but anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the overview, and back to the game. But here is that position that I was talking about. We are relatively angled to that Yamato and battleships over there near him. However, the Ohio and Kurfürst out there further to the right do have a good broadside on us, so we do need to pay attention to them. Which is a huge part of the reason that I utilize overview camera. After we take the shot there, you can see I kind of pop up an overview cam and it gives me a little bit better field of view of the battle. But by holding this central location here, I am able to get access to multiple different broadsides as we see some torpedoes come in, and oh no, can we dodge those? But again, perfect example of what I'm talking about there. Even though that GK or Ohio was shooting HE as another AP salvo comes in, we were aware of their position. We knew that they had our broadside, and there's a perfect example of angling. That GK, I believe it was, through 12 or so many shells as we get some questionable dispersion and grouping from Izumo there. And only one of them hit for an overpin, the rest bounced or shattered on our angled armor belt there. So a perfect example of situational awareness, paying attention, and armor angling all in one replay. It's nice when a community contributor tries to contribute to the community in a positive way, but I love seeing all the just ignorant comments sometimes on Facebook. It's like, well, these CCs, they don't teach nothing. They don't do anything for the community. Well, if you were, take your tinfoil hat off for a second and pay attention to the gameplay and actually watch the video instead of just commenting ignorantly on the thumbnail or the title, then you might actually learn something and score more than 500 points. But anyway, we don't make videos for them. We make videos for you guys, the people who actually enjoy them. So if you've enjoyed so far, let me know in the comments down below. Again, let me know if you guys enjoy these themed weeks. My video yesterday is doing okay. It's just I thought they were going to do a lot better. It's frustrating sometimes when you put a lot of effort into a video, especially with the about the hour and a half I have of free time per day to make these, and it doesn't do overly well. But again, I don't really make videos for the views. I make them for the entertainment value for you guys.
3 shatters and 2 bounces.
But speaking of entertainment value here, I probably should have included some of my comments that I said during this replay of the Izumo from the live stream. While we do end up with a rather fantastic game, most of these salvos were similar to the ones I had gotten initially. As you can see, 31 target hits for 37,000 damage. Now the game has essentially just started. We are just reaching the 10-minute mark, and we have great position on a majority of these ships. However, we've gotten some pretty broadside ships, under our guns, and we haven't really gotten rewarded for it. And here is another good example of that. Now this Alaska is angled, as you can see, a few bounces there. However, with his superstructure health, I wanted to take about 10 to 15k off of him. However, right at this point of the game, when I start complaining to RNG, is right when she starts going our way. This Alaska decides to, it appears as if he caught a case of the broadside-itis, and decides to turn broadside to 2 battleships here in the middle. We pop our accuracy plane. We get some beautiful dispersion and grouping on that shot. And yeah, 6 overpins, 3 pins. Would have loved the Citadel. However, the Alaska Citadel is right at the waterline, if not below it. So getting Citadels on Alaska, while not impossible, is certainly tricky, especially at close ranges. You guys definitely need to look at the armor profiles of certain ships. That was something I probably did in my early warships career, and then claim, or ask why I'm not getting Citadels. Well, that ship has a below-the-water Citadel, so you need to, look at those things and understand the game before you go on Facebook and start ranting and raving and complaining there. But another beautiful follow-up salvo there for a few 3 penetrations there, and within quick time, we've actually doubled our damage total with 1 or 2 salvos there. So getting those shots to fall is definitely going to, affect your enjoyment experience while playing the Izumo. But just keep at it, and she can be a decent ship in the right set of circumstances.
He's turning.
Now, I want to emphasize once again, this is not me overhyping this ship. I think it's actually near the bottom in terms of overall Tier 8 battleship performance. The Republic, there's a bunch of other, the Ruprecht, there's a bunch of other Tier 8 battleships I would much rather play. However, after 20,000 battles and playing the strong ships, game in and game out. There is, a certain fun that you have to have by taking these ships out and trying to get them to perform well. And speaking of trying to get this ship to perform well, you can see we have 2 legendary tier battleships out here as well as an enemy destroyer. We are kind of concealed by this island, and I decided to switch to the HE. The AP hadn't necessarily been doing all that much for us, and there's a good example of this HE. 2 penetrations and 2 fires there on that Ohio. Now, of course, he was angled, and this is just a good lesson for battleship players overall. As soon as the enemy target, especially a battleship a tier above you, angles, make sure you are switching to the appropriate ammo choice. Now, if it is an American battleship and he does, he hasn't had any massive hits to his superstructure, keep that AP loaded, load up his superstructure, see if he makes a turn. But in this particular situation, I know I've got a GK and an Ohio out there, and it looks as if those destroyers are eating up their superstructure. I'm just going to keep the HE loaded, especially when you get the RNG to fall your way. It appears as if we had gotten a double fire on him, and it is still burning. So with the quick switch to HE there, we have taken our damage total from about 60,000 to a quick 105,000 here in a short time. Now, I don't recommend spamming HE all the time in the Izumo, especially with how strong the AP can be, but in the right circumstances, as we are showcasing right here, the HE is definitely a viable option. And that is the case with most battleships. The HE on the GK, I believe, has like a 49% fire chance. So I'm not recommend spamming HE in your battleship, especially with how strong some of those AP salvos can be. But as we mentioned, if your target is angling or, the AP isn't cooperating, go ahead and make that switch. It befuddles me sometimes when players just refuse to switch to the HE because AP number go big. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you just look at the plays being made in this game and you're just like, do you have opposable thumbs? Did you get your driver's license before? But alas, as the super Chad type of players that all of my viewers are, I need you guys to be the ones to pay attention to the minimap, utilize situational awareness, utilize HE when appropriate, and of course, go out and try and help your team win. Now, I know you're kind of looking at the scoreboard and you're thinking, Aaron, this has been a rather boring or lackluster game, and I promise you guys it gets a lot better here in a moment. Our team decided to give up a few of the advantages we have, and you can see we have a full health GK at the back of the map behind an island, but he actually does a few things for our team which are a little beneficial, I guess. However, I would recommend to use some of your 105,000 HP before the 5-minute mark of the final 5 minutes of the game. Anyway, though, we have got a Worcester in front of us, and we have our 2 remaining destroyers well within his radar range. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to push in here, but we're going to have to go ahead and push up and help them survive. We have utilized our health rather well. We have used both of our heals, and we just ticked into the yellow. But as I talked about with utilizing health management, we have angled correctly, we've utilized our heals. And again, the Worcester gets a case of the broadside-itis. Not exactly sure what he was doing, but 5 overpens there on the first salvo. And then 2 citadels with the follow-up as we get the little animation from Aaron on the live stream there. That is just one of those... I don't understand RNG some days. I know that the Worcester is a light cruiser and may have been flat broadside, but when you go broadside in a cruiser, you should pay for it, and he did on that final salvo, but what on earth did the first salvo do? Did he, turn just ever so slightly on that second one to get us, just enough angle to arm the shells? I don't know. I feel like a Honda Civic size shell headed through the midsection of the engine room should do more than 1,000 damage, but alas, that's just a longtime veteran's gripe. And a coping mechanism here as I've put so many hours into this game. Now, you may be asking, Aaron, why are you holding your shot in this particular instance? Well, if you notice briefly before this, I was set on a triple fire from that GK. He was utilizing the principle of shooting HE at an angled target. And we actually put that out, so we are now damage con down. On top of that, there still is a risk for swinging the points in the wrong direction, so I don't want to get caught back on a permanent fire or even a double fire there if the GK is still shooting HE. So I'm going to utilize these spots for my destroyers. A shout out to those 2 chaps there who we helped keep alive. And we're going to, back behind this island here and shoot from concealment. Also, just a little side note there, that GK did put out a single fire, which you should never do. So we're going to go ahead and wait about 10 or 12 seconds after that salvo or after he puts it out and set him on a nice permanent fire. Never, ever, ever put out a single fire. Why? Well, you're about to find out here in just a moment. So we have the back midsection of his boat on fire, so we are going to aim for that front midsection and or the bow and stern. Once you have that region of the ship on fire, you cannot set it on fire again, unless of course they put it out. But here, we aim for that portion of the ship and get trolled by RNGs. If that was me, I probably would have been set on a triple fire, extinguishing a single fire. However, it's just something you never want to do as the enemy destroyer gets that double fire. But now that GK, perfect example, that GK is on a permanent double fire and there is absolutely nothing he can do about it. And his day is actually about to get much, much worse as one of the destroyer's torpedoes connects on his tail section there and sets him on what I imagine a flood. So you can see his health quickly evaporating there as it is just, again, never a good idea to put out a single fire, especially in a situation like that when you don't really have much team support. Now, of course, his team essentially failed him. I'm not sure why that Wooster, YOLO'd into the middle of the map and turned broadside to me. I think he had radared and was trying to eliminate the destroyers, which is a good play, but with a few follow-up salvos of AP, you can see us in joyous relief there of getting a good game in the Izumo, but a fireproof Dev Strike high caliber there with 216,000 damage in a first place finish in the Izumo. So a shout out to MLG Assassin there in second place for doing some decent things in his destroyer. But yeah, guys, that's the Izumo. Let me know what you guys thought of this one. I know quite a bit of blabbering, but I didn't have much time for this one, so I hope this video does well. Love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Again, suggest a few ships for me. The Otago's on the list, the Mogami, of course, the Yamato. Let me know what destroyer you guys think I should cover. I might not be able to, might not have that much time for the rest of this week, but we should here. So hope you guys enjoy that one. Let me know what you guys think. Love you guys. I'm out. Peace.